Wednesday. What's up, everybody? If you're watching live, do the number one thing you can do right now, and that is hit the thumbs up button on YouTube, on Facebook. Go ahead and share the link, or you do not stink. It is time. If you don't share the link, you will smell like the Bastion Booger's tights after he hasn't watched them in a week. If you don't know who the Bastion Booger is, give that a Google. What's up, everybody? We are right after AEW Dynamite and WWE NXT. It is our post show where your comments get on screen. I'm Kev Kelm. That is the man from Central Pennsylvania. He is cool, calm, and collected. He was on NXT, I was on AEW, and you watched all of it as well. We'll get your comments on screen. How are you doing, John Clark? How was NXT tonight?
I'm doing very well. NXT was very, very good tonight. It's what you expect out of them now, and they continue to deliver. And we had some, interesting developments for some upcoming shows, and we'll get into it later.
We have a barbed wire exploding death match planned for AEW Revolution March 7th. We have, oddly, Shaquille O'Neal not on the pay-per-view. He is still indeed scheduled for AEW Dynamite Television. We have that going on. We also had a baby reveal on this episode. We had a gender baby reveal. So plenty to get into. If you're with us the first time, I know plenty of people joined us near the beginning of the show. Stick with us. Your comments get on screen the entire time. You guys are the third person on the show. A lot of familiar faces in the mix. If you're with us for the first time, go ahead and get those comments on screen, and we'll flow with them. If you guys are with us on the podcast side of things, thank you so much. A lot of people listening to the show in Australia, Japan, across the United States. A lot of people in Pennsylvania, actually, John Clark. Are you telling everybody at the office about it? They know about the podcast. They know what's going on. The water cooler talk. God damn it, John. I heard what you said last night on WrestleZone, and I am upset about it.
I'm going to go in tomorrow and be like, oh, so that's who Kevin is. Oh, I see.
Oh, the loud bald ass that you're on Facebook with all the time? Okay.
Who's this funny guy?
Funny guy. Tell me a joke, comedian. I get that plenty. Also, for the people joining us on Twitter, well, yeah, we're now streaming on Twitter while we can. We'll figure out the app situation on there in a couple weeks when Periscope goes away here. A lot of people also bemoaning what looks like the end of the Undisputed Era, some form of it, half off on Undisputed Era merchandise at www.shop.com. We had Pat McAfee on NXT tonight. Give me a quick take on that before we jump into both shows here.
Pat McAfee doing a promo from his airplane, basically saying what he said on Twitter, that he told you so. And then he obviously had to get his own hashtag going, which was trending pretty high for a while. Pat was right was the hashtag. And may I say, Pat was right.
A lot of people enjoying both shows. Herman, who's with us all the time. Herman German Suplex Takar saying both shows were great. I have an 8 for AEW and NXT. As always, he's already giving us a rating. He's with us all the time. What is your rating for AEW and NXT? Give us the 1 to 10. All right, the 1 to 10. We'll get into all of it. Plenty to cover. We will talk about that topic that broke up earlier today as well, that really made a kerfuffle on wrestling Twitter, and that is a tier list of the women in WWE. So we will talk about that because it seemed to upset a lot of people online. We will discuss that before the end of today's show. Let's get into AEW. This was a pretty eventful episode headlined by a 6-man tag team match with Jon Moxley tagging along with Lance Archer and Rey Fenix to take on the Familia of Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston along with Butcher and the Blade all over the place. Pretty frenetic match. But it did have an issue that I saw throughout the night. Tag team matches, then people get attacked, and then there's a post-match physicality that sets up some other match. That happened in 3 different things tonight, maybe more that I'm not even recalling, probably even more than that. And there was like those type of things after almost every single match tonight, though this main event was very, very cool. Eddie Kingston able to weather the spinning back fist of one, Jon Moxley able to weather the spinning back fist of one Eddie Kingston and hit him with the paradigm shift. Moxley, Phoenix win this one. Out comes Kenny Omega, the Good Brothers. They attack Moxley We heard some teases last night on Impact where Tony Khan is appearing in paid ads, right? And the continued collaboration with them, the Good Brothers, the Impact Tag Team Champions. They hold him down, and he says he got his Valentine from AEW President Tony Khan. What was that Valentine? That Valentine, some fans were hoping and speculating would be another person from New Japan Pro Wrestling coming through the Forbidden Door. Could it be? Oh, Kota Ibushi, his former tag team partner. That's fantasy booking. I'm sorry, guys. It wasn't that. No, it's a match for AEW Revolution coming up on March 7th on pay-per-view. It will be Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley for the AEW title. This will be their third match. A big one, their second one for the title, and it'll be an exploding barbed wire death match. Kenny Omega laying him out, Jon Moxley able to headbutt Kenny Omega and still bloody him, and that pissed off Kenny. V-triggered him 3 or 4 times. That ends the show right before 9 o'clock. Some people thinking there was going to be another run-in, another Kenta surprise. We got no Kenta this week, by the way. But this was a fun segment that set up a pretty big main event. But I don't feel as much magic about saying that there's an exploding barbed wire death match. This should feel like it's going to flip the world upside down. It doesn't feel like that.
I need Mr. Sean Smith to enter the chat here and get people going because, look, I know what he's going to say, and I'm going to say before he gets here. You absolutely know if somebody else made a barbed wire match, that people would lose their minds saying how stupid this is, how pointless this is. And from what I've seen on Twitter, like everybody loves this idea. Why do people love this idea? This is so stupid. This is so stupid.
Why do you think it's stupid? You gotta lay it out, man.
How do you have I don't even remember what this match is. A barbed wire death match? Is that what you said? Exploding barbed wire death match?
Yes.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means there'll be explosions and there will be barbed wire
until somebody dies because it's a death match.
Well, that's all death matches, right?
This is as dumb as an eye for an eye match.
I don't think this is as dumb as an eye for an eye match. Death match is something
dumber, maybe.
What? What'd you say?
Dumber than an eye for an eye match.
Do you guys agree with John Clark here?
No, they don't agree with me. Obviously,
you are riled up tonight. You are riled up here tonight.
Look.
Daniel Miller with his basement level trolling on the show as always. Daniel, you got to try harder, buddy. Daniel's texting and saying another win for AEW tonight. If you didn't watch both, Dan, you can't say what show wins. You know what won? You know what truly won tonight? Professional wrestling and the fans. Professional wrestling and the fans won tonight, Daniel. Daniel, keep it up, or the band hammer drops on you, pal.
So if you're asking me what I think of this, it's an excellent matchup. I'm glad to see these two going at it again. They had a great match before, and wasn't their last match also very? Wasn't there like a lawsuit or something in this match because of too much violence?
The first one they did, I believe their first match, they did like a very, very hardcore unsanctioned match.
Yeah,
they did like a bed of barbed wire in it. So that one was brutal. That was a particularly.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think this is going to be on that level, or do you think this is going to be worse than that level?
It's going to have to be. It's going to have to be on that level. And also, you're advertising a death match by a major company on pay-per-view. This isn't like. This is no shot at GCW where they do death matches all the time. They have death match tournaments. They're doing those shows for a very hardcore underground audience. This is a major company with major media backing doing a hardcore match straight up. And that is what is being advertised.
So two things. Number one, Michael, I have seen ECW. The difference is ECW was known for doing this every week, and they were expected to do this kind of stuff. And my second thing on this is that I am not upset or mad that they're doing this. I get it. It's part of wrestling. It's part of the storylines, and that's fine. What I am getting, I guess you would say, triggered at or upset at is the fact that fans are clamoring and loving this, where if it was the other end of the spectrum, there would be nothing but hate and negative feedback about it.
You would
think
it's like a cheap carny move by WWE if they did it.
And that's where I'm saying the hypocrisy is coming into effect here, because look, And you have to admit, and I know you're neutral. You don't take a side.
I'm not neutral. I'm just saying if one show's better than the other, I don't get to watch NXT live.
But when it comes to this specific subject, you have to at least agree that there are those comments that are biased, that it's okay for somebody to do it, but not okay for somebody else to do the same thing. You see this happening too, right? I can't be the only one.
No, you're not the only one, and I understand the take on that there. But I do understand if you're going to do your third major Omega versus Moxley match, you're going to have to do something more than a regular wrestling match. You know, the second one was a huge power shift for them back in December. That was the show where Sting debuted. That was Kenny Omega getting the title and aligning himself with Impact Wrestling, right? That was a major, major show. How are you going to follow up that last time these two guys were in the ring with each other and elevate it and make it mean something on a pay-per-view? Also a pay-per-view where you're paying the traditional pay-per-view window price. So I understand where you want to make something different and special and outrageous. I think that's what they're going for here. I understand the logic behind it. Elevate the circumstances. I do think there is something, though, about a death match that puts a certain taste in people's mouths and is a certain type of match that has created a certain standard of, I would say, guttural violence that may be a little bit too much for people.
I'm telling them how I really feel. Look at the comments. Tell us how you really feel. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah. So some people, we get the comments maybe sometimes like 60 seconds after you guys say something. So don't be afraid of saying that here. Other people bringing up other great hardcore matches they enjoyed. I agree. I was at this match live. Foley versus Edge had a great hardcore match at WrestleMania. That may be one of the best hardcore matches of all time. I will say it in terms of getting the most out of what you can see and what it did in terms of fire. If you're going to introduce fire and different things like that, I can say, I can still remember the glow and flash of fire at the Allstate Arena in my seat at WrestleMania.
And feeling the heat.
I could feel the heat from it as well. And that was the best match at that WrestleMania, and that may have been the best match of Mick Foley's career. So that was a particularly fantastic match. A great match to look up if you just want to watch. Just a fun, great WrestleMania match that sometimes people overlook. I would put Mick Foley and Edge on that.
You agree in this particular situation that Omega's not losing, though, right? He's obviously going to win.
I don't know about that. I really, really don't know about that because I think the candle burns at a different end now. Back in the day, I think with wrestling fans, we've conditioned all our lives. You win the belt, you keep it for a long time. If you don't keep it for a long time, you're a paper champion, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
In this circumstance, I think we get so much content, especially with the social media side. The champion kind of lives there as well in terms of gloating about it. He's also appeared on Impact Wrestling television, so he hasn't just been on Dynamite. I could see Moxley winning this title back. I really, really could, especially if they're going to interweave this with all the different stuff that's going on with is Omega now truly with the Bullet Club? Is it just is that faction breaking up? That's the stuff that's kind of confusing, but they are continuing to stir the pot in multiple different soups here, because we also had Jon Moxley cut a promo tonight for the main event, and he mentioned he's still going to have to take on Kenta at New Japan Strong on that show on over on the New Japan World streaming service. So he's balancing multiple plates. It'll be interesting to see how things play out here in the next few weeks.
Sure.
Yeah. It was. I will say this: it wasn't a boring post-match main event angle. Oh, we got a comment over here from Twitter. It fits the story. WWE would never do this because of the PG rating, and creative wouldn't fit the story.
Sure.
No, hang on. I could say they wouldn't do it because of the PG stuff. But you know what? Now with the network, I could say the network, especially being on Peacock, that may be a truthful thing. Maybe that doesn't affect them. Maybe they get more freedom to do things. There's stuff they've done on the network that I don't think they would ever do on TV. And especially in the last 5 or 6 years, they've done some pretty gnarly things. I think there's some War Games matches they wouldn't do on television, or at least they would just show you clips or highlights of it. They wouldn't have a full-fledged live match like that. And there's some things they've done on television I was kind of shocked by, very, very shocked by. They've done that are a little bit titillating, right? I understand, but that's a smart comment, Wazzy. That the reason WWE wouldn't do is because they're a little bit more PG of a company. That makes complete sense. Other people saying Renee Young is going to be upset about this. Jon Moxley's wife, not going to be happy about this one. She was not pleased with the first one. I got to interview Jon Moxley in November of 2019, and we brought that up. And he says, "Oh, come on, man! Like, what are we gonna do?" And he mentioned, like, we're gonna have to go there and do it. But I love your guys' takes on this. Other big highlights from this week's AEW that we need to talk about. FTR had a match with the Seidel brothers. They were victorious in this back and forth match. They have an ongoing feud with Jurassic Park. They're about to cut off Mike Seidel's hair before Jurassic Park hits the ring and attacks them. There's another post-match attack. This is fine. It's just fine. Just fine stuff, because there was many things like this on the show. The stuff that was really cool was cool. The stuff that was lukewarm was lukewarm. There wasn't anything flat out bad on tonight's show. We had a AEW World Tag Team match between Santana Ortiz versus the Young Bucks. This match was wild. It was all over the place. Later in the match, Doomsday Device, double super kick to Santana. They almost get the win. Ortiz breaks it up. Bucks set Santana for the BTE Trigger. They name it after their web series. They almost get the win again. Santana Ortiz powerbomb Matt into the crowd. That was kind of cool. I haven't seen that since ECW days. Ortiz yells over and over that Santana is the best. Nick gets a small package while he's distracted outside of the ring and gets the W. I saw some people upset with this. Kind of give Santana Ortiz like a flash pinfall. It didn't look like they got squashed in this. They were very competitive with them until the end. What do you think of AEW? They have a strong tag team division, don't they?
Yeah, their tag division is definitely superior to that of Raw and SmackDown, probably combined, if I'm being honest. They pay more attention to it, and usually their tag superstars are solely tag superstars. They don't mix in single stuff here and there, and that's what kind of makes it unique. Obviously, when you have strong champions like that too, it helps things as well. But, I mean, if you had to tell me who you thought would be the next team to get the titles, who's at the top of your list?
Well, that sets up this next segment. Once again, another post-match segment where a lot of people hit the ring. It's this redundant thing I saw throughout the night. I was like, who's breaking up these segments? It felt like a lot of the same stuff. The Inner Circle hit the ring. They attacked the Bucks. Jericho and MJF are in line for a title shot down the line. It looks like that's what they're trying to get to here. Kenny and Don Callis, they also hit the ring, but they take quite a bit of time to help the Young Bucks, their running buddies. Brandon Cutler was out there getting whomped on by the Inner Circle. Chris Jericho gets in the face of Papa Buck, the Buck's dad. They're making this thing personal. And someone swore, and they had to get bleeped on camera. So it looks like they're going in that direction of Jericho, MJF versus the Bucks. That could be a big match at Revolution, right?
Absolutely. I don't think Jericho and MJF would necessarily win. I think we're still waiting on that big payoff for those two to go at each other again.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to see it get personal. And it's also interesting you say they had to bleep out some things there, because to open up NXT tonight, Kyle O'Reilly also said a word that he shouldn't have said, and it was bleeped out also.
Do you think that was on purpose? Do you think it was like a calculated thing?
When it first happened, I was thinking, I wonder if this was planned. If I had to guess, I would think that Triple H said, say the word, and
say the thing. And just let us know when you're going to do it, and just go out there and say it. Yeah, I can see that.
Well, they bleeped out like pretty much the whole sentence after, like, from when he said it until the end of the sentence. They bleeped the whole thing out, but you could tell what he said. He said, "I don't give a," and then and it went out, and then it was like, well, I wonder what he said, but you could obviously tell. But yeah, with the Young Bucks here, I don't see them losing them, at least to this team, and I think it might be too soon. Do you think it's too soon?
I think the Bucks could keep the belts past Revolution. I think they are the
past All Out, past Double or Nothing.
Who knows? I think there's other teams they could lose this team. They could lose this to. And I think Jericho is untouched. Jericho could get pinned by everybody in AEW and still be one of the top guys in the company. Doesn't matter. And MJF can take the fall at this point anyway. They did the singles thing with him. If you're just joining us, guys, and you're a first-time viewer, once again, get your comments on screen. For the podcast fans, thank you so much. Start subscribing to the show on all the different podcast apps if you can't join the live post shows. You can get them on Spotify. You can get them on Apple. You can get them on all your different podcast apps, iHeartRadio as well. Thank you guys for that. And give us a 5-star review. 5-star review. It really helps us grow the show. This comment coming in from KJC, Kevin Joseph Chuff. He says if Dynamite doesn't get new viewers leading up to, I guess he says Revolution, he says Dynamite, to Revolution, then the death match will be a waste, I think. So I guess maybe they're rolling the dice with maybe this is something that fans aren't going to get from WWE. They know they're going to get it from us, a big major company. They've heard about it from other smaller, less profile wrestling promotions. So I can get the logic in that. So Kevin's looking at least a little bit objectively. See another Kevin and Kevin here. I like this idea. I don't mind that here. Other things we got to cover here on tonight's AEW. We had the Women's Eliminator Tournament. This featured a very, very strong match. The return of Rio. She's not been on television in 48 weeks because of the pandemic. She took on the NWA Women's World Champion, Serena Deeb, and she won. She won. Quite a match, back and forth. They have quite the exchange here near the end. A double foot stomp from the top rope from Little Rio that looked really particularly brutal. And Rio picks up the win, advances in the tournament. This was a strong match and another indication that AEW is shifting course. You know, some people are saying their women had strong matches, but none of them exuded star power. Rhea struts out to the ring and comes off like a big star once again after not being on the show for quite some time. And this tournament kind of gives them a lane and a direction to go to that also balances their pure wrestling product at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not really impressive to me. I know a lot of people were upset by seeing how they're doing a lot of this on YouTube only.
Particularly the Japanese side they're doing on YouTube only, yeah.
Yeah, which a lot of people were kind of saying, why, it's hard to tell why. Obviously, they want to grow their social channels, but why only the Japan side of people were saying? Maybe they're largely unknown to people over here. I don't know the logistics of it. I'm just generalizing by saying it's not really impressive to me. I feel like on the NXT side, the Women's Dusty Cup was much more prestigious, worth something that the fans were looking forward to. Where here, I don't know, there's only one or two people that you can see winning this, right?
There's a handful of them now. It's interesting that Deeb is out of there so quickly, especially that she's the NWA Women's Champion. But it's interesting. I mean, if Rio was going to come back and she hasn't been on TV for such a long time, you had to do something unique or at least something noteworthy. And they certainly went in that direction. I don't think it's nearly as bad, but this is definitely a sense of let's balance the subculture of Joshi wrestling, women's wrestling in Japan, which is very popular online, but I agree with you, could maybe not translate to a bigger general audience, but they want to build from that online audience and kind of mirror it with the TV one. So I understand what they're trying to do here. But once again, it's like they're spinning a lot of different plates, trying to serve a lot of different subsections of their audience at the same time. Luther versus Orange Cassidy. This match was fine. There was some interference. Chucky T got involved and attacked Serpentico from stopping him in the match. The match was fine. I don't get why Luther's there. I think there's probably some other people in AEW that could even just enjoy being an enhancement talent more than this. Sure. Chaos Theory just seems like they're just a goon squad that wears makeup and gets out to the ring and they get beat up. And this wasn't much to it, though. This one, a little bit more talked about. Out comes Team Taz. They're building up to the Team Taz match, which will feature Ricky Starks and Brian Cage versus the legendary icon Sting and Darby Allin, the reigning AEW TNT champion. They do run a video vignette in the night that says that, basically showing off the recent accomplishments of the TNT champion Darby, the dark gothic figure who has aligned himself with legendary Sting, building to this upcoming street fight match at the pay-per-view on March 7th. Sting comes out and he has his bat once again. And he's been doing these segments where he's, facing off with them, maybe a little bit of physicality, hitting someone with a bat. But the thing is with Sting, he's in AEW. He's an older guy. He's 60, and he had spinal stenosis 5 years ago. Suffered a very, very serious bodily injury in the ring in WWE in one of the few matches he had there. And that was a major reason why people believe they never saw him in the ring again for WWE.
Sure.
He takes a power bomb in this. Took a pretty hard power bomb from Brian Cage. And they did an overhead shot, and Sting definitely sold it. And this looked particularly brutal. What do you think of this? I heard a lot of people talking about this, and a lot of people were kind of nervous about this one.
Oh, man. This is a pretty controversial thing, especially because of how old he is. Some people claim he's more fragile than what he might be. We probably don't know the answer to that, but maybe they're gonna, this is maybe a trial run. I guess you could say this match, see how it goes, see how, how it goes over with people, and just in general how good the match is. I mean, how often do you really think we're going to see him in the ring after this, if you had to predict?
Well, I mean, he took a bump. I think that was kind of the idea of this whole segment, was to say, hey, look, Sting can do this. He can get in the ring and do some physicality and take a real serious bump. Now, what that bump did to him, I don't know, but he took it, and it looked particularly hard. And that was not like that was a hard power bomb to take. Brian Cage is not somebody who is going to, I think, has to work lightly. Hope maybe he took care of him on it. I don't know. I'm not a wrestler. I'm just saying what I saw as a fan and a viewer. And other people with different takes here of this thing here. People saying Sting was seeing stars. They didn't like that too much. And Mr. James Espanto Fernando Tagoai I, texting in the show every single week, says, I don't want to see an older legend take bumps. Doesn't want to see him even take any bumps. But you got to have him out there to do stuff.
Understandable.
I mean, you're going to do a street fight. Maybe there's cinematic elements to it. Maybe there's backstage stuff you can do that can hide these things. But they even alluded to this on commentary that, you're going to be fighting on concrete. So that's going to be pretty brutal. So this is certainly interesting here. Other people saying Sting was seeing the Undertaker match at Mania. Ouch! Don't say that. That's mean. He was seeing the match that never happened. I'm getting powerbombed to share that match with the Undertaker. Yeah. So I see your take here. We also had a show opening match here with Hangman Page and Matt Hardy. They were in tag team action, taking on TH2. This match had some weird segments to it. Some of the transitions were kind of odd. Matt Hardy was doing his big money Matt thing. This is I believe maybe his third or fourth character he's done in AEW in a year and a half now. There is the illusions of the insert video from last week where he signed a contract while he was drinking. Hangman Page signed a contract with Matt Hardy. He says he gets 30% of his stuff. And they're going through this match, and Matt is letting Hangman do most of the work. And a double barrel buckshot from Hangman. Twist of fate to Angelico from Matt Hardy, and they get the win. Post-match, this turns into a whole big post-match thing with Matt saying they're going to have this big thing, and he's going to show him about this contract. And Hangman says, oh, yeah, by the way, I had that contract changed before you even knew it. He slipped a different paper and signed a different thing. And the different thing sets up a match at Revolution. It'll be Matt Hardy versus Adam Hangman Page. Though it's a money match. It's a money match. The winner gets the loser's quarter of earnings. And that is something that Matt agreed to. And then he yelled for TH2 to get $3,700 to come and beat the hell out of Hangman Page. A lot of people hit the ring. Dark Order hits the ring to back up Hangman. They've been trying to recruit him for a long time. Matt Hardy has his private party guys. One of them is dressed up like a mascot for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A bunch of people getting out to the ring. So you kind of notice how I went through the whole show, and there was multiple segments with multiple post-match situations with multiple factions. This didn't do the show any favors. There were so many things that got muddled in the show.
It sounds so jumbled that I really have no idea what to even comment about that. It just seems like there was so much going on that it's hard to like. What was the payoff here? Do you I don't understand. What do you think the payoff was?
I mean, there's certainly cohesiveness with the storylines. Everything is a constant storyline that's already been going on. It's within character, but it just came off clunky. It just came off really clunky and noisy, and like nothing really stood out because nothing gets to actually sit before you're telling me about something else. You're telling me about something else. And it reminded me of like TNA like 10 years ago where they're putting way too much at you at one time. You remember that for a little bit? They had that weird pacing for a while.
Yeah.
Sound off, guys, if you guys are with me on this here. I thought this was a fine episode of AEW. The tag team match was absolutely fantastic. I thought Rio and Serena Deeb had a great match. But great matches couldn't stop the muddledness of it. And also the show ended on a big note that I thought should have been bigger. Gonna give it a flat 6. 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. You set a certain standard, AEW. You got to keep it up, because I thought last week's show was absolutely fantastic and they had some great things on it. This week felt like a step down, but there's some big things to come ahead. Shaq will be on the March 3rd episode. We have a couple more weeks to the pay-per-view. And I do think they have some cool matches set up for the pay-per-view. So I'm not completely out of it. But, like I said, it's 52 weeks a year. Not everyone's going to be an absolute grand slam.
So here's the question. As of now, are you going to purchase this pay-per-view event?
Well, I'm going to be covering the pay-per-view, so I'm going to be on it. But I want to know, that's a question for fans.
Fair enough.
That's a question for fans, though, John. That's a question for people watching. Did tonight sell you on the pay-per-view coming up
And
March
we're
7th?
not talking about any of your streams. We mean actually pay. Do you think it's worth to pay for, not to Google for a stream?
Don't do streams. That steals from wrestlers. That steals from the production. That steals from everybody that works on the show. If you're going to do that, like, chip in with somebody, you know what I mean? Chip in with someone and
find a few friends. $10 a person, you get 5 people.
Yeah, do the old pay-per-view party, dude. Do the pay-per-view party in the garage on the big screen. I've seen some people do that as well, especially now, even in the pandemic. I've seen people do the spread out in a garage, like on one TV all the way in the corner.
Yeah.
Wrestling. We're gonna find a way to do it here. A lot of people chiming in here. But they didn't watch it yet. Someone says they didn't watch AEW yet. They watched NXT first. Maybe some people feeling the NXT hangover. We're gonna talk NXT in a minute because I just did AEW here. Big Kev and John, how long does AEW have until the bloom is off the rose? I think you mean in general about the brand. I don't know. I would say I think they've weathered the pandemic very, very well. With Daily Center, obviously the ratings show that they're a very, very strong show. Warner Media really likes them on TNT. And I do think the pandemic hurt them in ways that maybe we don't see, that don't feel like they're present. I wonder if the show would be so much bigger if it was touring in arenas. That's all hypothetical. But I do think there's going to be a lot of fans who are going to want to go see live anything that isn't just wrestling. And AEW will benefit, and I think it'll rebloom in a whole new way. I don't think the bloom is off the rose. I think they get breaks from wrestling fans that WWE doesn't. There are standards that are set by fans that are invisible but there. With AEW, those standards are just there week to week, and they'll let something go on TV if it doesn't work, and it's fine, right? I wouldn't say the bloom is off the rose. I wouldn't say that. And John, you obviously follow NXT more, but you read the temperament and the pulse of fans. People are still invested in AEW, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, some people are invested simply because it's not WWE. But some people genuinely like the product and think it's good. There are some fans that are like, well, I'm only watching this because it's not WWE, and they're going to suffer from this.
Or they just watch Raw and SmackDown, and they just want something different. They want wrestling. They just don't want it from WWE. And I do think that is a big appeal of AEW. There's nothing wrong in that. And that's kind of a service that AEW can do. They can be the big alternative that isn't WWE, and there is a lot of fans that tune in for that too. So nothing wrong with it here. Sound off on this week's NXT. This was a big episode for them. They are rolling off of the well-received WWE NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day this past Sunday on Valentine's Day. You and I loved it. If you have not yet watched or listened to our post show, please go check it out. This was one of our highest rated shows that John and I have covered, where we gave it the highest rating that we've ever given any show combined together. This was a very, very, very strong show. Lot of hype there.
Yeah, so let's dig in here. First, let's talk about 2 tournaments that we have wrapped up. The Dusty Rhodes Classic for the men and the women. Tonight we had a ceremony that was crowning the champions. We first had MSK come out. They were really excited, obviously. But here's one announcement I want to make before we get to that is they're both getting tag championship matches, men and the women, and they're both going to be on the same night. And do you know what night that is? It's Wednesday, March 3rd. Why is it Wednesday, March 3rd? Tell everybody.
Because that's the night that AEW Dynamite is revving up to be their big go-home show with it's going to be their big go-home for a pay-per-view that weekend on the 7th. And so they also have Shaquille O'Neal on that show. And that is another play by AEW to get through that big 1 million viewers, overnight viewership. They may even have 1 million viewers tonight. Who knows? So we'll see. This is a big night, and also NXT. Everyone says they did this pivot here. We're going to see MSK versus Birch and Lorcan.
Yep,
that'll be the men's tag team match. They won the men's Dusty Cup. Raquel Gonzalez, the big towering Amazon. Raquel Gonzalez, the devious Dakota Kai. They come out of this tournament. They were heels, right? They were heels. And on tonight's show, they got a showdown, the most talked about segment coming out of the show. They had a showdown with unannounced from Monday Night Raw. Out comes the WWE Women's Champion, the whole team of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Very, very fun segment. They had the Dusty Cup in the ring. MSK was out there in the corner eating popcorn with Beth Phoenix, and they traded some words. What did you think of this? I caught this flipping channels back and forth, and I absolutely loved this. I thought this was incredibly entertaining.
Oh, look. This was a pretty ugly segment, despite the talent.
Oh, so you didn't like it? Ring. You didn't like it?
No. So nobody really sounded comfortable. It almost felt like everybody had their script. Everybody knew what they were saying, but nobody really was confident or really liked where this was going. Now, certainly, this is going to be an interesting matchup, especially the whole Jax versus Gonzalez thing. They were talking about Dusty Rhodes quite a bit, Nia Jax saying, I worked with Dusty. He told me that I was the best big bad bitch he ever worked with. Mm-hmm. And then Raquel was like, well, with all due respect to Dusty, he never met me. And I thought, is that too far? Is it okay to say that? Like,
I didn't think so.
Some people are going to have their opinions. MSK was just kind of like there. I think they should have.
They were fun goofballs.
I felt like they deserved their own segment, though.
You have time to get there. You have time to do that.
I liked that Beth Phoenix kind of presided over the entire segment, but it could have been better, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not convinced that Raquel and Dakota are legitimate threats to win these titles yet. Mm-hmm. I think something's going to happen where they won't win, but who knows? Especially with it being on NXT, maybe we do get that title switch, but I mean, what do you think? And I think it's more likely that MSK would win, but unfortunately, I do think that both the men and women's Dusty Cup winners will both come up short. What do you think?
One of them is winning those titles. I don't think you go through a tournament. One of them is winning those titles. And I could even see both of them winning those titles. But I do think there is something with WWE NXT specifically on Wednesday nights that when they make a play and they do it with the women, they tend to get a little bit of an edge in their number. And the reason I bring this up is it is something that I think that NXT can take from AEW in terms of an audience. And that is a young, female, internet-driven audience. I think they can do that, and they can do it a whole lot. And I think that is the purpose of this. As much as people get mad about Nia, guess what? You get mad, so guess what? You want to see her lose, right? You don't want to see people you don't care about lose. You don't care about them. They can win. They can lose. You don't care. Get them off my TV. Nia, you want to see her get beat up. You want to see someone kick her in the butt and have her yell my hole, right? And so, I mean, that stuff is over. That is over. And that is what they are going for here. Tell me about the other big parts of tonight's NXT.
So let's talk about the main event and the opening of the show, which kind of blended into each other. We'll start with the beginning since that would make sense. We had Kyle O'Reilly immediately come out to the ring and say that he needs to hear personally from Adam Cole why he did what he did on TakeOver. For those of you that are living in a cave or missed it, Adam Cole turned his back on the Undisputed Era. A lot of people are falsely saying that the Undisputed Era is gone. They're not gone quite yet. It's just Kyle O'Reilly is not with them anymore. O'Reilly did a very good job selling his anger. Like I mentioned, he did use that derogatory term that they had to blur out. However, we got Roderick Strong doing the talking for Adam Cole, trying to be the middleman, the peacemaker. It wasn't really doing it for me with him being the peacemaker. They don't need that. So before we get to the main event, which involved a 3-on-3 tag match, what are your initial thoughts right now on Adam Cole, turning on Kyle O'Reilly? We don't know if all of the Undisputed Era is doing so yet. We only know that Adam Cole has. It feels like Roderick Strong is getting to that point, though. Unless it's just Adam Cole leaving and the rest of them are going to stay together. What do you think?
It's certainly building up to something very, very interesting. And I like that they didn't have to say it right away exactly what it is. But I am intrigued. Consider the hook in my mouth. You have a personal issue now that isn't the title that can mean something in a very, very big way. And eventually you can get it back to the title because it swerves and is hovered around Finn Balor, the NXT champion. Kyle O'Reilly chased that belt, went at him twice, broke his jaw, got injured himself and couldn't get it. Adam Cole lost that title to Finn Balor, right? And a final situation when it was vacant. He wants that belt back. Adam Cole has turned on his friends to even get that belt back and felt that's what he needed to do, that they don't need to be a group that aligns itself with the guy that they want to take a title off of. And so it is now a personal issue of friends turning on each other to get a title. I think this comes down to a triple threat match of some kind. And if they're smart, that makes its way onto one of those nights of WrestleMania. You want to talk about a big marquee match. Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Finn Balor, WrestleMania. You can put that in the middle of the card and people aren't going to turn away. That's not going to be a popcorn match. And even if you don't know those guys, you're going to be like, I heard about this Finn Balor guy. I may not know him. I may tune in for the big names on Monday Night Raw. Maybe I'm just a casual fan. It's WrestleMania, right? But those guys are going to steal your breath away. That's just me talking right now. But obviously things could change before we get there.
Yeah, I agree. I just think whatever they do, I'm not okay with them excluding Karrion Kross. I don't want him to get the Finn Balor treatment when he lost the Universal title and was kind of lost in the fold. Karrion Kross needs to be, in this as well. But we'll get into that a little later. The main event for tonight I wanted to talk about was the 3-on-3 match between Pete Dunne and then the NXT Tag Team Championships, Oni and Danny, versus Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. This was the best match of the night. This was the best part of the show. Looking at this on paper, you knew it was going to be pretty good. The end of the match, though, was a little bit hectic. You know how people don't really like those jumbled up endings.
Mm-hmm.
We had a jumbled up ending tonight, which was Adam Cole making his first appearance of the night to again attack Kyle O'Reilly. This would cost his team the match. Pete Dunne's team getting the win, and then as the show goes off air, Adam Cole super kicks Finn Balor and holds up the NXT Championship. So while we can't say Karrion Kross is necessarily out of the picture yet, it's very, very clear that Adam Cole is back into that main event picture, and he probably, at least we're getting a triple threat match, and I hope it's at WrestleMania. So to piggyback on what you were saying earlier, I think that is what happens. The question is, though, is that what's best for NXT right now?
I hope it can be. I think it is. I'm reading people responding pretty positively on Twitter right now.
We're not shying away. Their ratings have been suffering the past couple weeks. So
this is the right direction to go into. I think this is a match that I think people were just thinking Balor versus Kross, they're going to do it, right? And they teased it once, like once Kross came back, right? They teased it, but they really didn't do anything else besides that. Like this has been a lot more of a Paramount storyline with Balor wondering whether or not he should join the Undisputed Era, NXT's Bullet Club, right? Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And now that club is even broken up. So that was a big old swerve. That was one of the bigger swerves I've seen pulled off in a while. And they pulled it off. It worked. Cole is now in the business of Adam Cole, baby. I know some people say, they should never break the Undisputed Era up. They should never break them up. They should always keep them together. That just isn't sustainable. It just isn't. I mean, it wasn't sustainable with AEW when they launched with the Elite. This isn't sustainable. Like you have to break that group up with the wheels. The wheels spin so much faster now with the consumption of media. It's not the same. And I'm for it. I wonder what role Roderick Strong can really continue to play in this whole thing. What do you think?
The only team that I don't think is breaking up is the New Day, if we're being honest.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that. I want to address some of the comments we're seeing here, specifically about Santos Escobar and Karrion Kross, because we were just talking about Karrion Kross.
Yeah, that match was supposed to be this week. They postponed it.
Yes, it was postponed until next week. There wasn't really a specific reason why, but the reason how they played it off was that Santos wanted to do this on his terms, not on Karrion Kross's terms.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but to think that Karrion Kross is going to destroy Santos Escobar, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
I do think you're right. I think he's going to destroy him. It'll be not just a squash match, but a glorified squash match, something that's a little bit more akin to, think of a smaller scale version of when Brock Lesnar just wrecked Cena, like took out this primed guy. And as much as people say this is going to destroy Santos Escobar, this is going to destroy the Cruiserweight Championship, I think he'll be fine. Karrion Kross is a much bigger project for WWE, and you have to serve the bigger beast to get the whole machine and the train running. And I understand why that's happening right now. Karrion Kross has been on the shelf. He had the title. He was supposed to be more of a project in 2020. He was on the shelf. This means something. Feed the beast. And that is what Santos is. They're just preparing another week for prime rib for the month that is Karrion Kross.
Yeah, so there are so many people in this picture here with Karrion Kross. I mean, you have Finn Balor, you have Adam Cole, you have Roderick Strong, you have Kyle O'Reilly, you have Pete Dunne. I mean, if they really wanted to get carried away, could you see them maybe going with a 6-man match at WrestleMania? Here's my question for you. If Triple H comes to you and says, look, I want an NXT championship match at WrestleMania, make it the best you can be, who is on that match? How many people would you put in this match?
Oh, like a big multi-man match to just kind of like showcase.
It can be one-on-one. It can be fatal 4-way. It can be 6-man. It's up to you. What would you do?
I mean, if they wanted to go like that, that's what the Money in the Bank was for a while, where it was like, hey, let's get the people that are all strong in the mid card something meaningful on the show, and the show becomes meaningful in its own way. And Money in the Bank in that way was really, really cool. If they did that with NXT going into the future, where there was like an NXT gauntlet of some kind or a multi-man match with a little bit more of a strategic gimmick to it, I'd be on board. Is that a ladder? I don't know. Is that TLC? I don't know. I think the championship needs to be in there. Single stars need to be represented. You have enough tag teams on there. And I would love to see Finn Balor and the top guys from NXT, Karrion Kross, Adam Cole, Balor, maybe you want to get crazy and throw Cameron Grimes in there, just this sports entertainment.
So you would book like a 6-man match of some sort.
And let it be. I mean, if you want to say a spot fest, sure, but you can tell some stories in it, and WWE is able to do that with things like the Royal Rumble, where you have multi-man situations. You're going to see that at the Elimination Chamber on Sunday.
Now, would you make this like a ladder match or just a straight up 6-man match?
I think a ladder match would be really, really cool because
I do too. They haven't done that really.
And also a lot of what NXT is playing towards hardcore fans, not the casuals. NXT is designed for the hardcore fan that watches all wrestling all the time, right? And so they remember Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. If NXT had its own type of match like that, or a ladder match with the title on the line, that would be pretty cool. I think that, and you would have to qualify for it. I think with NXT, you can make the fact of getting into that match a much, much bigger deal. In the weeks leading up to it would be something else as well. And that is, NXT is a lot more of the sports side, sports entertainment for WWE. So I think that would be a fine line to run. I'd be into it. You like this fantasy booking? Isn't fantasy booking fun? We have our own fantasy booking show every Thursday. We call it WCW Rewritten. It is right now going to be available for you in our video channels on Facebook and YouTube. You can also check it out on the podcast apps. It is with the degenerate D'Angelo brothers. All right. And they started last week. Episode 1 is available now. Episode 2 dropping tomorrow. Episode 1, though, covers Starrcade 1997. What are your memories of that show, John Clark? Do you remember anything big about that show? There was a lot of injuries on it. There was a bunch of people that were supposed to be on the show. They didn't make it on it. Sting showed up and he didn't have a tan. Eric Bischoff was pissed.
I couldn't tell you anything about it. I couldn't tell you a damn thing about it.
It's definitely a memorable show with a lot of big names on it. So go check it out here. So tell me more about NXT. What else do we have left here before we get to that big all-important?
So the rest of the show was kind of filled with just like a little small filler stuff, just to name a few of those things. We are continuing with this Kushida thing where he loses, but he wants to prove himself, except this time Bronson Reed is like, hey, man, maybe I deserve a chance at this now. You've kind of had your chances. You know, I want a chance too. Mm-hmm. So something's building there, but we still have Dexter Lumis there with Gargano. He did return Austin Theory to the way tonight in his underwear with like crayons written all over him. Like that was an interesting concept. Lumis is playing mind games. That's what he does for now. It makes sense. Let's see where it goes. And then another thing they did tonight was Isaiah Swerve Scott lost to Leon Ruff in a very kind of a roll-up pin match where, you know, it's like an I got ya type thing.
A fluke.
A fluke. This is going to turn into something bigger. I think this is going to be
Leon
very
Ruff
good.
is the 1-2-3 kid of the 2020s. That's what he is now. And that's not a bad spot.
And the thing is, they're still like playing him off as a jobber, but I think at this point we know he's not really a jobber. So
no, but he plays it that way though too, where he's like, I'm so happy to be here in a wrestling ring with NXT.
Just a bunch of little feuds we have building up. So next week on NXT, we have to look forward to will be Karrion Kross, Santos Escobar, and also we will have Xia Li promising to purge Casey Catanzaro next week. That's all we know.
She had a presence outside the ring during a tag team match. Yeah. Casey and Kaden Carter were in action. But it was more important what this post-match was, where she marked her hand. She went over and she marked her hand. And this is all leading up to the mystical cultism that is thousands of years old, that has allowed Xia Li and this masked master that looms behind her, that gives her this mystical power, which we do not know yet. What do you think of all of this? This is a different supernatural element for NXT to go down.
I'm okay with that. I really want to know who's under the mask, though. Like, who is this master type character? I feel like it's
the Black Scorpion, man. Just like
it's going to lead into somebody, you think, right?
Hopefully, it does. They could introduce a whole new character with him.
This will be like the hacker thing where they'll get rid of it, but then next year they'll be like, "Oh, by the way, I was that one. I was him."
when they just get tired of the idea and they want to write something new. Yeah.
Exactly. Overall, pretty good show. I'm going to go with.
Give it an honest number. An honest number, John. Don't override it. What'd you give it?
6.75.
Okay, 6.75. So do you feel like they took the momentum coming out of TakeOver in the right way, or did it just cool off naturally?
I'm going to say if we're driving down the interstate, they're in cruise control right now. They're just kind of going at their own pace. They're not trying to go too fast. They're not really going too slow. I honestly think internally they're still trying to figure out where they want to go and also when they want to go there, because they don't maybe know when the next takeover is. They maybe don't know if they want to do at WrestleMania, and maybe they want to see what AEW is doing too. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things here they're going to do. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Some people rating the show giving it a 6.6, 7.2, right on the range that you're talking about here. People asking, are Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez baby faces now?
I don't think
they are. I mean,
I don't think so.
I guess they have to be to some degree if they're positioned against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, who are definitely heels, more popular heels.
Sure.
But it'd be weird, yeah, because I mean, it didn't feel like a double swerve where, like, you know, the baby faces became heels and that didn't come off on the finals. So I don't know. A lot of pieces moving around here. Thank you for chiming in here. We do want to talk about a hot topic that was on the internet today. This isn't so much a story, but really a discussion point. sometimes people do like tier rankings. You've seen these tier rankings where you put someone in this tier and you put someone in that tier, and there's like A, B, C, and you want to be in the A ranking. You don't want to be in the D ranking. That means you're the lowest tier, right?
You have $15, make your all-star team, and then we have people on $5 and people worth $1, so to speak.
So I think maybe it's just the connotation of saying that you're proverbially worth $1. And it's not real money, but it says something. It says your worth in the perception.
Basically, other people are better than you. Essentially, is what they're saying.
Yeah. So WWE on Fox, very popular social media channel, an official one from WWE in their partnership with Fox Television, puts out one of these tier lists, and a lot of times these always blow up on the internet. And this one blew up in a completely different way. Because it prompted a response from several WWE contracted talents. It had many different people in various different ranks. And
let me just give a few examples here, just so people understand. Sure. The top tier was the four horsewomen: Charlotte, Sasha, Bayley, Becky.
Makes complete sense.
The other champions were below: Asuka, Io, even Kaylee Ray was at $4, kind of weird there. But let's jump to the bottom here. Who's only worth $1, so to speak? Well, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, Natalya, and Peyton Royce. Didn't really go over so well with them. Natalya, and I just want to say a little bit here, Natalya. To summarize what she said, she basically said that she has struggled for a long time to figure out what her worth is, and she will not allow anybody to tell her what her worth is. She wants it to be known that if she did find herself in that position, it was because she was a pillar and a foundation for what they're doing. She told WWE on Fox to keep their $1 because anyone who knows anything knows how priceless she is. And she got positive responses from Alexa Bliss, saying that she did not support the tier concept. Cesaro, who also gave her support for this, and Xavier Woods also backed her up on this. What do you think about this? And just before you give your opinion, Liv Morgan also was verbal about this, saying it was kind of inappropriate, and the same with Peyton Royce, who showed disrespect for this. Bayley played it into her character by saying, they're going to spend all $50 on me anyway. So Bayley was playing in character, but I think overall they were all kind of uncomfortable with this. What do you think about, because this obviously didn't go through anybody. They just did this on their own. I doubt we see one of these again. What do you think?
Well, WWE on Fox, it's a social media account that they're supposed to get people talking, and this is something that gets people talking, and this always gets people talking, just like when you and I give a rating on a show. We give a rating on it. It's like, how dare you give that show a 6? I can see someone listening and watching a show later on and say, how do you give AEW Dynamite a 6? It's a 10 every week. To them, it's a 10. And so perception plays into it. Favoritism plays into it, because you're immediately telling me that the thing I love the most, my personal favorite, isn't worth more than $1. How do you say that? I've bought Natty t-shirts. I've bought Liv Morgan t-shirts. I love the Riot Squad. They're my favorites. I root for them when they're in the ring. I want them to win, and when they lose, I lose. I know I'm talking in mark words here, but guess what, guys? You're a mark for wrestling. We all are, and we like it. And when we watch a show, even when we're analysts, even when John's like, there's guys we want to win. All right? I have no problem saying that. I've had some friendship with Lisa Marie Varon in the past and gotten to perform at a restaurant that she had in Chicago. When she came out at the Royal Rumble, I stood in my chair and I was yelling. I was nearly crying. I was so happy for her. Absolutely one of my favorites. I would be pissed if she was on a list like this and they put her at $1. I think that's the thing. Is there's a certain type of fan that's going to blow this thing up and get really loud about it. Another thing is, I think I'll be honest, and I hope this isn't seen as a sexist or chauvinistic comment, is I think female fans have no problem marking out. They have no problem. They have no reservation about saying, I blindly love this character and I hate when my character isn't promoted or featured as the favorite person. And how dare you do that? And I think that is genuine. This is a genuine response to people's love for a character, at least in the fans. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, let me get to the other side of this, though. The thing that's unique about this one today is you had wrestlers, as you brought up. You mentioned what they said. You mentioned specifically, most notably, what Natalya said. And them saying, you're going a little bit too far with this. You're not just a fan doing this. You're not just like a website like WrestleZone, where we're going to, rank the top. Here's the top 25 women in WWE right now. And if we put out that list, there would be a ton of debate about who's number one.
Yeah.
But
this is an official channel.
This is an official channel. All right. Kind of staying this. But this also happens when the video game comes out. When the WWE video game comes out every year.
The ratings.
Every character has a power ranking, right? They have an individual character power ranking, combination of all their different skills. And it's bound to piss people off. Like, there's no way to do this and not piss people off. And there's no way with a show like ours to do something. If you guys watch my show and you don't agree with what I say, I'm okay with that. But if you're entertained, mission achieved. We talked wrestling in a pandemic. We're all at home watching it and listening to it. And this is just another extension of it. We don't have to agree on the same thing. We don't have to vote for the same guy. That's okay. You're allowed to have that opinion. I think this one's a little bit more hurtful to the talent because it's like, hey, you're under our banner and you did this.
So, but we see this in NFL, NBA all the time. Make your all-star team with $20. So my question is, I have two questions. One, do you think this is any different from that? First, answer that first. Is this any different from that, or is this the same thing?
No, but now it's just you're taking that same type of sports speak and applying it to something that's entertaining.
So then my second question, are you okay with this kind of stuff? Do you think it's okay? Do you think it's too much?
I'm okay with it, but I also understand where people are going to get upset with it.
And I think we're on the same page.
Yeah,
I agree.
That isn't a cop-out, but I mean, like, you look at the PWI that comes out every year, the Pro Wrestling 500, everyone always wants to know who's number one. And I've been in wrestling locker rooms when people have the PWI 500 and they roll through it and say, here I am in it. They're proud of being in there, and they should be. Now, is that something you want to wave around if you're number 500, you're Mr. Irrelevant, as people say? But no, how are you irrelevant? You're one of the top 500 wrestlers in the world. It's impressive. But with this, it's different. It's like here are the ones that mean something. Here are the ones that mean less. And it's all on one page. That I could see hurting. And that would piss me off too. I'm a comedian. It would piss me off if somebody said it to me and I put, X amount of time, X amount of years into something. And at the same time, Natalya is not wrong. She is absolutely the foundation of the women's division. I think she's a first ballot Hall of Famer. When she's done, she goes in. Like, I don't think there's any waiting or pausing for that. She has meant that much. There is no women's evolution without her. All right. There's no women's evolution without her. I know Saudi Arabia, and there's a reason she got that, because we don't need to give this to someone else. We want to give it to someone where it means something in the socio-political sense, and that's why it went to Natalya. And she was the first woman to have a wrestling match there. I know that's a whole other debate that opens up something else.
I guess, though, I feel like as of right now, though, she really hasn't been on that level of the superstars ranked above her, like Alexa Bliss and, those women. Nothing against her. I'm just saying that, this is solely on the writing team, but she hasn't really been productive recently.
Well, it's also like, it's the old creative doesn't have anything for you, and you get lost in the system. And
of course,
yeah, that happens. That's the here. Like, I've used the word the beast. That is the nature of this business. It is very, very hard to stay in the mix. Let me just say this. Natalya Neidhart is going to be revered as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of her generation because of what she has done for wrestling. The amount of people that she has helped make great is her greatest influence. Is she going to be as popular as Becky Lynch and Bayley? But here's the thing, guys. Popularity does not equate complete greatness. That is the fact. There are athletes who do not have her skill, do not have her timing, do not have her pacing, do not know how to control themselves, and, as I always say, frame themselves to the camera. There is no better WWE anchor woman than her right now. Let me put it this way. The Undertaker was the locker room captain. I haven't been in a WWE locker room. But if someone told me for the women, our Undertaker is Natalya Neidhart, would that shock you?
No.
No. It wouldn't shock you, especially if you follow wrestling week to week. She deserves respect. I can understand where this feels like a slight. I can understand where this is something where she felt she needed to say something because her fans brought it up to her online. And I think for also for female fans, things that are talked about online have more weight in a different way. And that's why this discussion kind of blew up and became a thing. And we're talking, I think, in a fairly civil way. Mind you, we're not as mad about it as other people. If you're listening to the show or watching, I would love to hear your take if you're upset about it. I have no problem
we do have a few comments. I see DJ saying, Natalya needs to focus on winning titles and making money. She is terrible.
DJ, you're dead wrong. You're dead wrong that she's terrible. You are completely wrong.
That's not her fault at all. That's the ratings.
And also, guess what? Winning titles and making money are not always the same thing. And also, she's won titles, and she's made a lot of money, and she's made reality show money. And she was and also another thing is she was a big part of Total Divas. Still is.
Yeah, and an interesting question that James says here is, do you think this would have been a problem if it was male superstars? I do think it would have been treated differently.
They've done a version of this before. I'm seeing a couple ones. There's one they did with several like superstars from a certain generation. They did this kind of
Maker Survivor Series team was one of them.
Yeah, they have a Survivor. I'm looking at one that's a Survivor Series team, and it's like, oh, how could you put Christian at $1? Mr. Perfect is $1. Whoever's in the $1 tier, people lose their mind.
But it's not the superstars in this case. I didn't really hear any of the male superstars making a big deal out of it. Now, I do think they're a little different, but I don't think they should be treated any differently. Just because they're women doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean the fans aren't going to be upset about it. Doesn't mean they're not going to talk about it. And doesn't mean they're going to lose their mind about this thing. Just reading, just scrolling through this, just WWE and Fox on Twitter, what people are saying. Natalya's a great wrestler, but the game was based off current status in the company. Yes. And for the most part, the numbers given were accurate. So that's just a general comment I see here. Other people saying different things here on it. A lot of people upset about it. Other people quite angry about it. Different people saying, what a dick move. I love that they think putting a price tag on a woman's worth is cute. Shame on you at WWE Fox. Shame on you. This one. Here we go. So at WWE Fox had time to live tweet this week's hashtag WWE NXT, yet while they waited until after NXT went off the air to delete their degrading, offensive, dare I say, sexist tweet that stayed up for over 10 hours. No apologies have been made.
Was that a millennial?
Only an immature joke. I don't know if it's a millennial thing here. It doesn't really matter. It's just, that's just one fan's comment about it. So some people taking this very, very seriously. I think for Natalya, it's fine for her to put out that comment because that's her fans asking her about it. Like, are you angry about this? We're angry about this. And she wants to speak to her fans in a normal way, right?
Of course.
So it's different. And I heard some people say that she didn't respond the right way or she was upset about it. But you know what? If I'm Natalya, I'm bringing this into a writing room. I'm bringing this into a writing room and say, she's done this before.
Play this off.
Where she's played this off is like, hey, you guys said this about me, and now I'm going to do this. Mind you, this is also, the niece of Bret Hart, who they had farting on television, right? That people got really upset about.
I mean, hell, the guy got attacked at the Hall of Fame ceremony, and Natalya had to protect him. She's pretty important.
Yeah. I think Natty could turn this into something
interesting.
And,
we'll see.
And if I'm smart, I'm somebody in WWE that wants to throw a curveball at the women's division. Think about this. Natalya had a match at WrestleMania last year. Now, mind you, last year's WrestleMania wasn't a real. I wouldn't say it wasn't a real WrestleMania. It was a different WrestleMania. She got on the show. She lost to Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan didn't really get much out of it, but Natalya was on the show. She was on WrestleMania. She is a wrestler's wrestler. All right. She's a William Regal. She's a Fit Finlay. She wants to do what's right for the show. So in this regard, much like Victoria, some people say that about Victoria as well, that she never got what she deserved. She got to have the title. Natalya's had the title, but has she ever had the spotlight that she deserved? That's to be argued. And I think if Natalya wanted to take this tweet and print it out, bring it in, put it on someone's desk and turn it into something, it could become something. It could really become something. I think that would maybe have a little bit more compelling teeth to it than maybe some of the things we've seen on Monday Night Raw with Lana being goofy and, nudging somebody into a table and Nia yelling about her hole, which are funny things. As much as people complain about them, they talk about them, right? So that's the reason why they keep doing them. So those things are, whether you like them, I'm so down on this, thumbs down, but your loudness about your thumbs down, your hands are up in the air saying thumbs down. Guess what? That gets people's attention. They keep doing it. I think Natalya could do some really big things with this, and I hope maybe this could be something cool. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it'd be fun if it was. Absolutely, yeah. We will be back tomorrow afternoon. We will cover some Impact Pro Wrestling. We will have our Impact Post-Show just a few days removed. We were trying to do that today, but we had delays. We will preview Elimination Chamber coming up on Sunday. That'll be coming up in the podcast as well. John Clark, I believe you and I have a date after the pay-per-view. We're going to be hanging out. We're going to be doing that. Yes, we will be. Do want to know this. If we get a couple more likes in this video, and if you guys are on the live stream, comment if you're watching live. Think about doing a live watch along with the pay-per-view that we would make YouTube exclusive, where you watch the pay-per-view with me, which would be pretty cool. Also want to do some other housekeeping. We are over an hour and 10 minutes in this. We're going to be giving this away. This is the Road to WrestleMania Activity and Trivia book. I'm going to read a page from it. You want to read a page from it? Oh, wait. Oh, dude, I have a Natalya page. Look at this. I just did not mean to do this. I flipped over to the Natalya page. I did not mean to do that at all. All right. So let's see. You know, it's like when you get a book and it smells nice. Okay. Did you know more than 800 million homes around the world tune in to watch WWE each week? 800 million homes? Did you know that? Yeah. All right, here we go. You want this question, John? You think you can beat this random question I'm going to read you? I have to go to the answer key. I hate having to go to the answer key.
Can't you just read the question?
I'm looking for. Oh, they have like different things here. I'll read it. WWE reaches more than 180 countries. How many languages do you think WWE programming airs in? How many?
11.
Okay. Oh, it's multiple questions. It's A is 180, B is 28, C is 10, D is 45. A 180, B 28, C 10, D 45.
I'm gonna go with 28.
28. Let's see if your answer is right. Go to the answer key. Flip to the back, and you are absolutely right. Look at that. You don't win this. Someone else does. We'll be giving those away. We also have some cool action figures. I have this guy. Oh, you can see him, John Cena. We're gonna be giving away John Cena before we get to WrestleMania. You can't see me. We'll be doing that. I'll reach over to the prize corner. If you're watching the show, you watched it this long. So cool. Thank you so much. You watched it. Give it another thumbs up. Give it another like. Give it a share. And remember, when watching wrestling, please do the most important thing. Tell them what that is, Jonathan.
Enjoy wrestling.
Enjoy wrestling. You're worth more than $1 to us. We love